I wanted to share some tips and some background for why we get cravings and why we get them and ways that we can tackle them and handle them. So the reason why we get cravings are for a few different reasons. One could be biological, it could be like emotional, or it also could be environmental, like what's going on around you. So biologically, we are designed as humans for survival purposes to be drawn to sweet foods naturally, because back in the day when we were like hunting and gathering, sweet meant that it was going to be simple sugars that were going to be energy, basically. So, and if it was like sour or bitter, it could indicate that it was either poisonous or spoiled. So we still, as humans, our brain is still wired to work that way. Simple sugars and sweetness means energy. And so, but nowadays it's not just berries and fruits, it's processed sugars and processed things. So we have that element. We also have like emotional, triggers. So sometimes it's that we are stressed, we are looking for a dopamine like boost. So when we have sugars and things like that, it definitely like triggers dopamine responses in our brain. So sometimes we're just looking to feel better. And sometimes it could be that we actually just have things around us and we're bored, or, something stresses us out and the food is there. And so that environmental plays a role. So knowing that science behind it can kind of help you. They've also done studies to show that we can change, well, we know this, but like we can change something that's bitter and sweet to have a positive outcome. So our brain starts to like it. Case in point, alcohol and sugar. When we're like little kids, alcohol tastes gross, or maybe to you, it has like a bitter taste, and so does coffee, but we have associated the buzz or the caffeine high with a good response. So we can actually change, something that tastes not great can have a reward. And so someone that doesn't like vegetables, there's studies done that you could actually eat more of those vegetables and change your palate to start to enjoy them more. And also, if we limit processed foods and high sugary foods, we can actually change our palate to register like natural sweetness from fruit and maple syrup and things like that to be just as satisfying. Which is pretty cool to think about. I know that when I changed my diet and I stopped eating as much processed foods, the taste came out to me. Like natural fruit tasted more sweet, and also foods tasted saltier to me. I love salty foods, but I realized how much salt is actually packed into a lot of food. My palate changed, and that can happen. So there's also studies that have been shown that we like what we eat. So where body gets conditioned to eating the thing, we just repeat the same foods because our bodies have a palate for it, we like it. And so it's what we go for. So if you are someone that's like, I don't like vegetables, I don't want to eat them, I don't like them, it might mean that you need to just force yourself to eat them a little bit more to change that palate so you start to like it. If you really just hate a certain vegetable, it could mean trying a different vegetable. But I think that's there's validity to being like, I don't like them, because your palate isn't used to it. So increase the veggies. Sugary cravings could actually be because your blood sugar is low as well. So ways you can handle that are to eat more frequently. I know a lot of people, I used to be this way, a lot of people they'll have coffee and they'll eat nothing for hours and hours and hours, and your body is just looking for energy. So it's making sure that you eat within every 3 to 4 hours minimum, and that you are eating like balanced amount of healthy carbohydrates, so then your blood sugar stays at a good level, so you're not dropping to these levels of like ravenous hunger and then eating whatever. And that's usually an indication, like a sweet tooth is usually an indication that you're not getting enough the nutrients that you need and your blood sugar is low. Also, sleep deprivation, this is huge for me. So if you don't sleep enough, the body's actually looking for energy sources. So caffeine and sugar, your cravings are going to go up if you're not sleeping great. So these are just things to be aware of, like I need to work on my sleep, I have a baby, but at least I can identify, while I'm having like a low moment, I really want some chocolate. Do I want chocolate, or am I just tired? So like something you could do would maybe be like a cup of coffee with maple syrup, or, something like a natural sweetener to kind of just boost you. Grab the natural fruit first. And people worry often like, well, fruit's so high in sugar, blah, blah, blah. You really need to be worrying about processed sugar, white refined sugar. If your palate changes, sugar, like fruit can be that satisfying, fruity sugary thing that your body's after, try that first. Also, there's fruit juice, which is really, really high in sugar. And then there's the whole fruit that is got the fiber and all the nutrients and stuff. So that's just like an indication that maybe you just need to eat more frequently, or your body's tired and just looking for like energy sources. If you're craving something salty, it could mean dehydration. It could mean that you're just not drinking enough water. A good rule of thumb is whatever you weigh. My baby's waking up. Whatever you weigh, say you weigh 200 pounds, you want to be drinking a minimum of 100 ounces of water a day. So if you are going to have something salty, and sweet, is really just about the choices. Like I said, fruit, I said coffee with some maple syrup, and maybe it's grabbing something crunchy or salty that's not highly processed, and like you could do cucumbers. I love putting tahini, that's that like chili salt on it, but you could do just like a little bit of sea salt and paprika. You could roast some chickpeas, air popped popcorn. There's so many things you can do. So it's not about like never having these things. It's just about making good choices when you are having cravings, and then establishing like why you're having the cravings. Those cravings are an indication that we're missing some nutrients. But I thought it was super interesting, the sugary thing, because I definitely notice, it's when you think of it as like a biological thing, like our body just wants energy, and we get energy from simple sugars and carbs that can identify like why am I craving that? So I hope that helps you guys, at least gives you something to think about. I love the science behind nutrition so much, and I also like trying to think of ways that I can, deal with it, because it's not about, another thing I was going to say, sometimes you get cravings because of if you're restricting yourself too much. Like if you're saying no sugar, no salt, no snacks, nothing, no wine, no coffee. Like if you're restricting yourself for long term, like I'm saying, like for extended amount of time, that can trigger more cravings because you are concentrating on what you're not getting. So it's all about balance, like I'm a big believer in balance, and just, this for that. Like if you want to have something salty, maybe it's a better choice, or something sweet, it's a fruit or something with natural sweeteners, as opposed to something that's full of like refined sugar. Because also if you have that stuff, you're just going to crave it more. Okay, bye guys.